All right. Welcome to another deep dive. Today we're going to dive into something that I know you're super interested in.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, it's the potential for HBAR, the HBAR token,
Mm.
to hit that magical $10 mark.
Yeah.
I mean, you sent over a whole bunch of HBAR to $10 podcast episode scripts, so
You've been thinking about
it
it.
seems like you've been thinking about this a lot, yeah.
Definitely a hot topic,
It is. It really is.
for sure.
But before we get into, the whole HBAR to $10 predictions and all that, maybe we should take a step back first.
Yeah, makes sense.
A lot of the scripts that you sent in mention this idea of Hedera hash graph being, faster, more secure, more scalable than like traditional blockchains.
Yeah.
So for someone who's maybe not like super deep in the crypto world, could you maybe break that down a little bit?
Sure. So,
What does that actually mean?
when you're thinking about blockchains, right, like Bitcoin, it's like using a dirt road to send, money or information.
Okay.
With Hedera, it's like having this super efficient highway. Oh, okay.
It can process like thousands of transactions every second and like a fraction of the cost and the energy use.
Yeah.
It's kind of a game changer.
So faster and cheaper. That makes sense.
Right.
But what's the like secret sauce? Like what makes Hedera so different from
The magic. Yeah.
What's the magic?
So it's all about how Hedera reaches what we call consensus,
Huh.
how the network agrees
Uh-huh.
on which transactions are actually legit.
Okay.
And they use this system called hash graph.
Okay.
And I won't get too technical, but it's basically a super efficient way for all the computers on the network to talk to each other
Okay.
and verify those transactions.
So it's like a high-tech way to
Yeah, everyone gets on the same page.
instantly everyone's on the same page instantly. There's no more waiting around.
Right, exactly.
Okay. Interesting.
No more waiting around for, blocks to be mined,
Like Bitcoin.
like Bitcoin, right?
Yeah.
But the scripts also mentioned, like, a lot of big companies, Google, IBM, Boeing,
Mhm.
all these big names
Mm.
are involved with Hedera.
Yeah, that's a big deal.
What's the significance of that?
Well, I mean, they have this governing council made up of all these like global giants, right?
Right.
And it adds like this sense of trust
Right.
that you don't see a lot in, the decentralized crypto world.
Mm.
So for these big companies, that want to use blockchain, they want that reassurance,
Yeah, they want to know.
They want to know it's legit.
Yeah, it's the real deal.
Yeah.
So it's like they have the best of both worlds. They have the innovation of blockchain with the credibility and stability of these like established companies.
Exactly. That's a great way to put it.
Okay, so
And, this approach seems to be working. I mean, Hedera is being used for all sorts of things now.
yeah.
Supply chain stuff, tracking carbon emissions, all sorts of things.
Mm.
But I guess we should talk about what everyone's really excited about, which is
Yeah, let's get to the good part.
the potential for HBR to hit $10.
Yes. Let's talk about the $10 dream.
Yeah.
A lot of these scripts you sent, they're really banking on this idea of mass adoption,
Mhm.
driving HBR's price up.
Okay.
Is that a realistic possibility?
I mean, it's definitely a common theme in the crypto world, right?
Yeah.
And it makes sense, right?
Yeah.
As more people use Hedera's network, the demand for HBAR, it's, cryptocurrency, is going to go up.
Right.
And there's a fixed supply, right, of 50 billion HBAR.
Right.
So if the demand goes up and the supply stays the same,
The price goes up.
the price is going to go up.
Simple economics.
Yeah, classic supply and demand, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
But a lot of the scripts point to Hedera's tokenomics, especially this thing called staking.
Right.
Can you explain how that fits in?
Yeah, break that down for us.
Okay, so staking's kind of a way for people who have HBAR
Mhm.
to support the network and actually earn rewards for it.
Oh, cool.
So they basically like lock up their HBAR,
Mm.
which takes it out of circulation, right?
Okay.
So now you have less supply,
Right.
demand's going up,
Price goes up.
price goes up.
Interesting.
So staking just adds another layer to the whole HBAR to $10 equation.
Okay, yeah, that makes sense.
But some of the scripts were a bit more, cautious.
Right.
They highlighted the competition, right?
Right, yeah.
You got Ethereum, Solana, Cardano, all these other blockchains,
Right.
all trying to be, top dog.
Yeah. So what do you think about that? What are your thoughts?
Yeah, it's definitely something to think about. I
Mm.
mean, competition's fierce,
Yeah.
and Hedera can't just, sit back and relax,
Right.
They got to keep innovating. They got to keep showing why they're the best.
Yeah.
So it's not just about being good,
Right.
it's about being the best.
Being the best, yeah.
And that kind of brings us to another big thing that came up in the scripts, regulation.
right?
Always a fun topic.
Oh, yeah. The ever-changing world of crypto regulations.
Right, exactly. Governments are still, trying to figure out this whole crypto thing.
Yeah.
And new laws or restrictions, I mean, that could really impact how much Hedera gets adopted.
Especially in finance.
Especially in finance, right? Which is, like, super regulated.
Right. Yeah, that's heavily regulated.
Yeah.
So regulatory uncertainty, it's just another layer of complexity
It is.
to HBR's journey.
Yeah, for sure.
Okay.
And then on top of all that, we can't forget just how volatile crypto is in general.
Right. Yeah.
I mean, even, the strongest projects, they can have these crazy price swings,
Right. One tweet
Yeah.
from Elon Musk
Yeah.
can send the whole market into a tailspin.
Exactly, yeah. It's crazy.
So, I mean, yeah, the $10 HBR dream, it's exciting.
It is.
But we got to approach it,
Yeah.
with a healthy dose of
Realism.
realism, right?
Yeah.
There's a lot of ifs involved.
Absolutely.
No one can predict the future.
No, not at all.
So before we dive even deeper, I mean, this is already a lot to digest.
It is.
What are some key takeaways that you would want our listeners to remember from this initial exploration of HBAR and everything?
Well, the big thing is Hedera Hashgraph is offering something unique, right? It's fast, it's efficient, it's secure, it's backed by this, strong governance model that's attracting these major players.
Right.
But like we said, it's not without its challenges.
Yeah.
Competition, regulation, the volatility of the market, all those things.
Great points, yeah.
Yeah,
So I guess we've laid the groundwork here.
we have.
We've explored the technology. We've acknowledged the potential roadblocks.
Yeah.
What's next on our HBAR deep dive? What are we going to look at next?
I think now that we've got a basic understanding of Hedera and HBR, I think we should shift gears and think about you, the listener.
Okay.
What does all of this mean for you and your investments?
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
All right, so we'll be back after a quick break
Okay.
to continue our deep dive into HBR and its road to $10.
Stay tuned. Sounds good. So, welcome back to the deep dive. So far we've covered the basics of Hedera Hashgraph, HBAR,
Yep.
and this idea of it reaching $10.
The $10 dream.
But before we get too caught up in price predictions and stuff, I think it's important to take a step back and be like, what does this all mean for me? You know what I mean? What does this mean for you, the listener?
Yeah, for sure. It's easy to get swept up in the hype,
Right.
but it's super important to look at this with a critical eye.
Yeah.
It's not about blindly following the crowd or just dismissing it completely.
Right.
It's about taking all this information
Right.
and figuring out what makes sense for you and your, investment journey,
Yeah. So it's not enough to just hear about Hedera's impressive speed or those partnerships with big companies.
Right. Exactly.
We need to dig a little deeper, right?
Yeah, let's take those partnerships as an example,
Yeah.
right? We talked about Google and Boeing, big names.
Huge names, right?
Yeah.
But what are they actually doing with this technology?
Right, yeah.
How is it actually making a difference in the real world?
Yeah. So instead of getting caught up in the hype of a big name,
Right.
we should be looking at the substance of their involvement.
Yeah, the use cases, you know.
Yeah.
How does Hedera's technology actually fit into what they do every day?
Right, yeah, exactly. It's like peeling back the layers of the onion, right?
Exactly.
You got to look beyond the headlines and really understand the practical stuff.
The applications, yeah.
Yeah, and this applies to the $10 price target as well, right?
For sure.
I mean, yeah, it's a catchy headline.
Yes.
But what would actually need to happen
Right.
for HBR to actually reach $10?
Right. What kind of adoption would we need to see? What kind of demand?
Yeah.
And what would the market need to look like?
Right.
Those are all really important questions to ask.
Yeah, so it's about looking beyond the price prediction.
Yeah.
Understanding, what's actually driving that potential growth?
Exactly.
It's about thinking critically,
yes.
not just wishful thinking.
hopeful thinking.
Yeah, exactly.
You gotta do your research.
Right. So we can't just rely on podcasts or headlines to make good decisions about this stuff.
Look, podcasts like this one, they can definitely give you some good background information and
Right.
insights, but you got to go deeper,
Yeah.
Go to Hedera's website, read their white paper, really try to wrap your head around this hash graph technology.
Okay. So it's about taking ownership
Yeah.
of your own investment decisions,
Absolutely.
not just following the crowd.
Make up your own mind.
Right. Form your own conclusions.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And that leads to another important point, I think, that came up in a lot of the scripts you sent.
Hmm.
The long-term perspective,
Yeah.
you know?
Patience, patience, patience.
It's easier said than done, I know.
Especially in crypto.
Especially in crypto.
Yeah. Things move so fast.
Yeah, you see these headlines about coins, like going to the moon overnight.
Right.
And it's hard not to get, like, caught up in that.
Yeah, totally.
But the thing is, building something that's actually going to last,
Right.
like blockchain, I mean, that takes time.
Yeah.
Think about the internet, right? It took decades
Right.
for that to become what it is today.
Yeah.
Blockchain is still, like, in its early days.
Right.
And projects like Hedera, they're laying the foundation
Mm.
for a future that could be completely different from what we see now.
Yeah, so even if HBAR doesn't hit $10 next week
Right,
or next month,
right.
that doesn't mean that, like, the project failed or something.
Not at all.
It's about looking at the bigger picture.
Yeah, it's about understanding the potential for, long-term growth,
Long term.
and not just looking at the price chart every day,
Right.
but looking at, the technology, the adoption, how it's all developing over time.
Yeah. Yeah. I like that.
And speaking of long-term thinking, we got to talk about diversification.
Yeah, diversification. Can't
Yeah.
put all your eggs in one basket.
Exactly. Even if you're, like, super bullish on HBAR,
Right.
it's still important to spread your investments around,
Yeah. Yeah.
Nobody can predict the future.
Right. Right.
And diversification helps you manage that risk.
So it's about creating a balanced portfolio.
Yes.
Not putting all your hopes on one single thing.
Exactly. And that reminds me of something else that came up in those scripts you sent. Market cycles.
Right. Right. Yeah.
Super important to understand those.
Yeah. Break those down a little bit.
So cryptocurrencies, including HBAR, they're known for being volatile.
Oh, yeah.
You're going to have times of crazy growth followed by corrections. Then maybe things level out for a bit, maybe even some declines,
So how do we ride those waves without getting, totally seasick?
Right, right.
Like, how do we deal with the ups and downs without making, like, emotional decisions?
Yeah, this is where your investment strategy really matters.
Okay.
You got to ask yourself, what are my goals? How much risk am I comfortable with? How long am I planning to hold these investments?
Right. Yeah.
Having answers to those questions, it can really help you, weather those storms,
So it's not just about picking the right coins. It's about having a plan
A plan, yeah.
for how to manage your investments
Oh,
no
no.
matter what the market's doing.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Okay.
You're ready for the roller coaster, right?
It's a roller coaster, that's for sure.
Yeah.
But, this leads to something we haven't really talked about that came up in a few of the scripts.
Oh, yeah. What's that?
The psychology of investing.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, how our emotions can sometimes lead us to make, like, really bad decisions.
Oh, yeah. Like when the price is going up and you get caught up in the hype.
Yeah, or when the market dips and you panic sell.
Exactly. Fear and greed, they're powerful forces.
They really are.
They can really cloud your judgment, like FOMO, the fear of missing out.
Yeah, I've definitely felt that.
It can make you buy into something without even thinking about it,
Right.
And then fear can make you sell at a loss,
Right.
even if the project is still strong,
Yeah. Yeah, that makes sense.
So it's not just about, like, the technology and the market.
Right.
It's also about understanding yourself,
Yeah.
your own biases,
Right.
your own tendencies,
So self-awareness is super important.
Super important. Recognize those emotional triggers,
Mm.
Figure out how to manage them.
Yeah.
Maybe set some rules for yourself.
Right.
Talk to a financial advisor or
Okay.
just, like, step away from the market when things get crazy,
Right. Take a break.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, it sounds like navigating the crypto market.
The journey
It's a journey. It takes knowledge, discipline,
and emotional intelligence.
emotional intelligence. Yeah. Wow.
Yeah. It's a fascinating space, though,
Yeah.
full of potential and pitfalls. And you got to understand both
Right.
if you're going to be in the game,
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
But I think beyond just the individual investor,
Mm-hmm.
there's a bigger context here. We've got to zoom out.
Okay.
Look at HBAR in the grand scheme of things,
Right.
in the world of blockchain and this whole digital economy that's evolving,
So for our final part then, we're going to be stepping back,
We are.
looking at, like, the potential impact of HBAR on the world.
Yeah.
Not just, like, the price.
Right.
This is where things could get really interesting.
It is. It's the big picture stuff.
All right, so welcome back to the deep dive.
Back again.
We've gone deep on Hedera Hash Graph,
Yeah, we have.
explored its potential, talked about the challenges it faces.
Mm.
We even took a little detour into the psychology of investing.
Right, right.
But now I think it's time to, zoom out
The big picture.
and consider the big picture, like we promised.
Absolutely. This is where it gets really interesting.
Yeah, I mean, even if HBAR doesn't hit that magical $10 mark,
Right.
and who knows, right?
No guarantees.
There are no guarantees, especially in the crypto world.
You know, for sure.
But its journey, even getting to that point,
Mm.
could still have massive implications.
Oh, absolutely.
So let's imagine a world where Hedera Hash Graph, regardless of price, it just achieves mainstream adoption.
Okay.
You know, like what could that look like? What kind of impact could it have on everyday life?
I mean, imagine supply chains where you can actually see where everything comes from. Complete transparency. You could track a product from the factory all the way to your doorstep.
Wow.
Or secure digital identities for everyone.
Right.
That could streamline everything.
Yeah.
Voting, healthcare, so much stuff.
It's not even about whether I make money from HBR.
Right.
It's about Hedera potentially making the world a better place, right?
It's about the potential for positive change,
Yeah.
And that's what's really exciting, Think about developing countries.
Yeah.
Hedera's, low fees, the energy efficiency,
Right.
that could be huge for financial inclusion.
Right.
Millions of people could get access to financial services for the first time.
Wow. So even if HBAR doesn't become the next Bitcoin,
Yeah.
its technology could still have this massive ripple effect
Huge impact, yeah.
on global development,
For sure.
create a more, fair financial system.
Absolutely.
Oh, wow.
And we can't forget about the environment either. Hedera's super energy efficient, right?
Yeah, way more than some other blockchains.
Yeah, exactly. And that matters more and more these days as
Right.
climate change becomes a bigger concern.
Right, yeah.
That focus on sustainability, that could be a major driver for Hedera.
So it's not just about profits.
No.
It's about building a better future.
Yeah, a more sustainable future, a more inclusive future.
Right. And that resonates with a lot of people,
It does.
especially people who want their investments to, align with their values.
Yeah, you want to feel good about what you're investing in.
Yeah, exactly. I mean,
Yeah.
I think that's something to consider,
Absolutely.
with any investment, not just HBR.
Right, what kind of future are you supporting?
Yeah.
What kind of impact do you want to have?
Those are big questions,
They are.
but definitely worth thinking about.
Yeah, it's not just about the money, right?
Right. It's
Yeah.
it seems like HBR's journey, regardless of the price, how high it goes, could be this fascinating example of how blockchain can really change the world.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
It's a great case study, that's for sure.
It really is.
Even if it doesn't hit $10,
Right.
Hedera's still a project worth keeping an eye on.
Absolutely.
Unique technology, ambitious goals, potential to really make a difference.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's a compelling story no matter what happens in the market.
All right. Well, this has been an amazing deep dive. I mean,
It has.
really appreciate you sharing all your expertise with us today.
Happy to be here.
But, even though our conversation is ending here,
Right.
this is just the beginning, right?
Exactly. Keep learning, keep asking questions.
Yeah. Keep exploring.
That's what it's all about.
That's the beauty of the deep dive.
That's it.
And, who knows? Maybe we'll revisit this whole HBR thing down the line.
Yeah, that'd be great.
See where things land.
Absolutely.
But until then, stay curious, stay informed.
Words to live by.
That's it for this episode of The Deep Dive.
Thanks for having me.
Thanks for joining us. We'll see you next time.